On this episode, I'm going to show you how to make fluffy biscuits from scratch. These homemade biscuits are so easy, you've probably got all the ingredients in your home. In my food processor, I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour. All-purpose flour usually has between 10% and 11.2% protein. That will give us a biscuit that's light and not too chewy. We're going to add the dry ingredients. I'm going to add a pinch of salt, and then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. The sugar is going to add a nice sweetness to the biscuit. We're going to be adding some baking powder. Baking powder is a leavening agent, but another leavening agent is baking soda. This will also help the biscuits brown because it helps change the pH. Now that we've got the dry ingredients together, let's give this a quick whizzing just to make sure they're all incorporated well. I'm using unsalted butter. I always use unsalted butter. That way I can control the amount of salt in the recipe. This has been in the refrigerator and I've diced it into cubes. You'll notice also that I'm using shortening. Shortening doesn't contain water in it like butter does, and this actually helps the biscuit have a better mouthfeel. We've added the butter and the shortening to the bowl of the food processor, so now we're going to mix this for about 30 seconds just to incorporate everything. You'll notice a coarse texture. Now I'm going to bring it out of the food processor and put it into a bowl. As we take a look inside the bowl, we can see that we've got this coarse mixture, and that's perfect. We don't want to chop the fats too small because them little pieces of butter are going to cause a steaming process when it bakes. So here I'm using some whole milk, but feel free at home if you wanted to, you could use some buttermilk. Now that you can see this is nice and soft, and as I look in the bowl, it's all coming together well. This recipe will also allow you to add a bit more flour. If your mixture is too dry, feel free to add a little bit more milk to it. Bring it onto the board, and now I'm going to knead it. And when it comes to kneading, basically, I'm just pressing it about 12 times. I'm adding a bit of flour to the board just to make sure it doesn't stick. And you can see that the dough is nice and soft. It springs back and it's perfect. We're looking to roll out the dough to about 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch thick. Just rolling it out and turning it 90 degrees every so often. As we look at the dough, I can see the pieces of butter inside, which is really going to help these biscuits become nice and light. I'm using a 2-inch cutter and I'm just dipping it in some flour. This stops the biscuits from sticking to the inside of the cutter. Just make sure that you don't twist it, because when you twist it, it actually stops the biscuit from getting a good rise. So you always want to go up and down. And we're just coming around the dough, just cutting these out. Bring the dough together and roll it out to 3/4 to 1 inch thick. And we're just going to keep on cutting these until we've used up all the dough. I've taken a rimmed baking sheet and I've greased this with some cold butter. This will give the biscuits a nice brown bottom. It also helps prevent the biscuits from sticking to the tray. Space the biscuits about 1 to 2 inches apart. That way the heat can circulate around the biscuits. This will help with the rise of the biscuit, but it will also help with the browning as well. I've preheated the oven 30 minutes ahead of time. It's at 450 Fahrenheit. Why I do this is I want the walls of the oven to get nice and hot, not just the inside where the thermometer is, the walls as well. This helps it recover. When we put something cold in there, the temperature is going to drop, but because the walls are nice and hot, it recovers quicker. That will give us what we call oven spring, so those biscuits will rise better and get a better color on them. I'm going to place these in the oven on a center rack and let them cook. When they come out the oven, they have a lovely golden colour and they smell fabulous, and you can see how they've risen on the sides. Whilst these are hot, I like to brush these with some melted butter. I think it adds a great flavour and gives them a beautiful sheen. You can serve these just like this, or you can cut them in half and put some bacon on as well. Just look at that. Happy days.